Hello everyone and welcome to the second edition of Ranked, the kind of series that I will get to be regular that I do here on the channel, where I rank all the albums of a band and tell you which ones I think are the best and which ones I think maybe you can miss. Today we are hitting up the one only, the Sacramento Heroes, Deftones. Like Fear Factory, it's one of those bands that I can't really say definitely with any of their albums, oh, you want to skip that one, because really they haven't put out an album that is even just okay. They've not even put out an album that is literally just absolutely awful. They're one of those special bands that really do tweak everything, but there are lesser albums, and this was a bit of a hard list to sort of decide on, but let's get into this, shall we? Obviously, it's the main albums. It's not the B-sides collections or any best-ofs or anything like that, although I don't think the Deftones have a best-of. Not officially, anyway. So, yes, let's get into this. In at number 8 on this list of ranked for Deftones is Saturday Night Wrist. Their least, well, probably the least listened to album of theirs, for me personally. Again, not a bad album, as I said earlier. No Deftones albums have really been terrible or anything. It's just this album, I don't know, maybe they went a little bit too experimental on it. I'm not sure, but a lot of the songs didn't really quite hit the nail on the head like previous releases and indeed releases after this album for me. And there's a few moments of brilliance, like the song they have, what's his name, Serge Tankian of System of a Down on, called Main. That is absolutely wonderful. Chino and Serge on a song is just like the ultimate dream team of early 2000s metal, really. And hearing their voices sort of collide on this song with that sort of really awesome riffing going on in the background was a moment to behold. And that is the definite highlight on this album. Apart from that, though, the rest of the album, apart from the opening, it starts off promising. The opening track, Holding the Earth, is beautiful. I will not deny that. It's actually very reminiscent of a song called Minerva that's on one of their other albums that I will get to later. But yeah, Saturday Night Wrist, it's at number 8 because I think it's the least enjoyable Deftones album. But as I said, your mileage may vary. Really, they've not made a bad album, so if you do want to pick up all the Deftones albums, or you see this one out in the wild for cheap, still pick it up. You might find yourself enjoying it, but for me, it's in here at number 8. In at number 7 is their self-titled album. This had the dubious honour of following their masterpiece, White Pony, which was widely regarded as a masterpiece. And I think the pressure got to the guys a little bit, and they went a bit further away from being a pure metal band. But let's face it, Deftones were never really the most straightforward of bands when it came to their music. Again, this is another album that has some definite standout tracks. The absolutely gorgeous Minerva song is an anthem for all time, and one to really sort of chill out to with its soothing riffs, and of course, as ever, Chino's fantastic vocals. And it starts with the somewhat off-kilter Hexagram, which has a multi-track vocals of Chino duetting with himself, as it were. But the rest of the album, again, it's another album where the songs don't really go anywhere for me personally. And like I said, it had to follow White Pony. And if you've heard White Pony, nothing can really nothing can really reach that level of excellence that White Pony did. That was really lightning in a bottle. So yes, here is the self-titled album in at number 7. In at number 6 is an album that is tinged with sadness, it has to be said, because it was either just after it was released or just before. Their original bassist, Chi Cheng, unfortunately passed away after having been in a coma for 2 years after, I believe it was a car accident. So if the album was sort of written just after that, it is understandable. But this is an album that is just very forgettable to me. Apart from the somewhat spidery ascending-descending riff of Entombed and the return to heaviness that was Swerve City, I can't remember the rest of the album. I really can't remember it that well. And trust me, you know a good Deftones album when you can remember the songs. and this just a lot of it just kind of passed over you. Obviously, this song was written in place of the original Eros album or Lovers album. I can't remember. I think it was called Lovers. Then it went to being called Eros, and now I think it's gone back to being called Lovers, which is still to be released, as it features the last material the band ever actually wrote with Chi Cheng before he sadly and tragically passed away. But yeah, Deftones and No Yokan in at number 6. Again, you may enjoy it, but for me, a Deftones album where a lot of the songs you can't even remember. I mean, I've got the actual track listing up here right in front of me, and I do not remember half these songs. I know I've listened to the album more than once. That's what's concerning me. But yeah, there we go. No Yokan in at number 6. In at number 5, a lot of people may argue this is their newest album, Gore. And I've got a confession to make on this album. I've only been able to listen to it once. So over time, this could very much rise on this list and in my estimations. But as I'm writing this and recording this as of right this moment, I've only managed to listen to Gore once, and I have a feeling it's definitely going to be a grower. Possibly the softest album the Deftones have ever released. Never get into anything extremely heavy from what I remember through the listening of it. Yeah, the basic reasoning it's at number 5 on this list. I've just not had the time to listen to it. Well, I've got all the new albums coming. I'm trying to listen to them, get the reviews out for you guys, and do the videos on the channel. Repeatedly listening to albums does become a bit troublesome and a little bit difficult sometimes. So, unfortunately, Gore, I've just not given it the time of day. I will get back to it. I will definitely listen to it again because I do love me some prime Deftones. I've had a lot of people say, you know, it's really, really good. You need to listen to it. So I've got to give it more time. But at the moment, it's at number 5. At number 4 is a debut album, Adrenaline. The album that originally the Deftones were seen by a certain pop star. Some of you will know her for doing a song called Like a Virgin. Well, yeah, it's Madonna, basically, who used interesting methods to try and sign the band to her label. I believe they did in the end. I believe her label is Maverick. But, yeah, she sent them naked pictures of herself back in 1995, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that was the turning point as it was for the band. But anyway, yes, Adrenaline, the debut album, is in here at number 4. And to be honest with you, the whole album's actually absolutely superb. Even the hidden track, which I think was called Fist or something, is absolutely superb. Engine number 9, absolute rager of a song. 7 words, classic tune that should be played more. And that I'm saying that to myself as well. And the that riff to the very first song, Bored, which might have been their debut single as well. That song just kind of describes teenage frustration so well as well. And then, to really top it off, you know it's a good riff, because only a few years later, the riff to Bored was ripped off completely by The Offspring on one of the tracks on the Americana album. I think it was the last one. So there you go. Riffs being ripped off by bands. But I think the Deftones were fine with it because they'd moved on quite a fair margin by the time that the Offspring had released their Americana album. Should probably do an Offspring ranked episode. That's the word I'm looking for, but we'll get there. I've got many ideas. But yes, in at number 4, the debut album, the one and only Adrenaline. In at number 3 is the very first Deftones album I ever heard. The absolute stone cold classic that is Around the Fur. You know this album because it has got probably their biggest and most well-known, one of their most well-known hits to date, My Own Summer, Shove It. Oh, good God, this album. They got Max Cavalera on it for Head Up as well. It's got Be Quiet and Drive Far Away. It's got everything you would want from an early 2000s, well, a late 90s, incarnation of the Deftones, taking all their ideas that they had on Adrenaline and then fine-tuning it to a diamond shine and coming out with this. This is the heaviest the Deftones have been, and also some of the best tunes they've ever written. A lot has already been said about this album over the years, so I can't really add to that. This had a massive impact on me. I listened to this album religiously for a long time when I first came across it. It was just, I was listening to this about a year before they released White Pony. So, yeah, I was a bit late on the train to Deftones, as it were. But yeah, absolutely loved that album then. Still love this album now. It will still find its way into my CD player, and I'll still find myself getting addicted to it, playing it again and again and again. Oh, God, Chino screaming on this, the vocals, the lyrics, the somewhat obscure lyrics, like, I think God is moving his tongue. Who knows what Chino's quiet is on about, but just the general mood and vibe of the whole album is a masterpiece. Maybe a bit overshadowed by other albums that they've done by now. Now they've moved into more experimental territories, as it were. But yeah, I still hold this up as my argument for why nu metal was a good idea and is still good. Basically, even though they're not nu metal now, they are a sort of a term that can be described as Deftones. This was a nu metal album. There's no escape that. But nu metal in the purest sense of the word. Because there's no real rapping on this album. I don't think there's any rapping on this album, in fact. This is what nu metal should have been. When the rap elements come in, that's when it started going a bit kind of downhill. There were some good bands that come out of that, like 1 Minute Silence and stuff like that. But we also got some real crap. But Deftones, weathered the course, played it out, so it kind of helped invent the genre along with Soulfly, and then ended up killing it off. And we'll get to that in a bit. In at number 2, the Deftones' best album since they released the album that's at number 1 on this list, which I'm sure many of you have already guessed. Probably guessed way back at number 8, but anyway, Diamond Eyes. Diamond Eyes is absolutely excellent. It is one of the best albums they've released. I wasn't expecting much after the Deftones self-titled album and Saturday Night Wrist. I was a bit worried that they were starting to get a bit too experimental, as it were, maybe a bit sort of drift away from what they had originally created with their own sound over the years. I've got no problem with bands really sort of changing their sound, as long as they don't drift too far away from what is the reason you started listening to them. But this album was a proper, absolute and utter return to form. Starting with the absolutely gorgeous good way just to describe Deftones sound, I think, but the absolutely gorgeous Diamond Eyes itself, and going through the rest of the album. This is an album that's an absolutely magical experience from beginning to end. If you've not heard Diamond Eyes, you need to listen to Diamond Eyes. Well, you need to listen to Diamond Eyes and this next album. Number 1, well, you already guessed it, didn't you? It's White Pony. Of course it's White Pony. How could it not be White Pony? For those who are watching this video for recommendations on where to start with Deftones, start with White Pony. Seriously. It's got songs you will probably recognise, such as Change in the House of Flies. It's got elements of the heaviness in there, such as Elite. It's just an absolutely beautiful album from beginning to finish. Admittedly, when I first started, the first few times I listened to it, I always thought that Elite was a weird and odd recall back to the sound they had on Around the Fair, stuck in the middle of this otherwise fairly mellow album. But over time, it has kind of grown on me, and I've realised that it does fit into the album. But at first, it was a bit of a jarring change. But yeah, absolutely not one average track, not one bad track, not one just very good track. Every track on here is an absolute masterpiece. This is Deftones at the absolute height of their power. This album can never get enough love. It led on to them doing the mini EP afterwards, which was the Back to School, which was the lead-off single, was a rewriting of the final track on this album called Pink Maggot, and obviously the rewrite was called Back to School, which became a massive hit in its own right. And I think that's the closest that Chino's ever really got to rapping on one of his own records, I should say. And yeah, this is just absolutely incredible. And on top of all that, you got Maynard James Keenan of Tool on here as well, on the song Passenger, which is a 7-minute journey. That's the best way to put it. It's a 7-minute musical journey through moods, and oh my good lord, it is incredible. just everything about it. And if you've got someone like Maynard James Keenan happy to come in and do a guest spot on your album, and considering the band he's of usually fronting, or even a Perfect Circle as well, you know you're doing something right, because that guy is very, very, very critical of his music and what he likes. Because let's face it, he's in Tool, and Tool are one of the best and most like envelope pushing bands out there, along with Meshuggah, and other bands like Sixth. But anyway, yes, Deftones, White Pony. If you've never listened to Deftones, start with this album. If you have listened to Deftones, listen to this album again. So there you go. So there you go, another episode of Ranked for you. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to become a patron. Check out Patreon. The link is there on the screen right now for you. And also, if you want to become a patron and donate to the channel, it will go towards making the channel and my videos a hell of a lot better, because at the moment, still a bit roughshod. I will fully admit that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.